now. Adam is live in Phoenix at the league meetings. And Adam, we had this article that just dropped on ESPN.com from Tim McManus and Jeremy Fowler, and the title of it is Inside the Eagles 2025 Friction as Jalen Hurts Stands at the Crossroads. And it really breaks down what went wrong with Philly, specifically the offense in 2025. Based on your understanding, how tense was it with the Eagles last year?
Listen, they didn't win the way that they would like. The season didn't turn out the way they liked. They struggled to be the team they were, and they won the Super Bowl championship. So obviously you're going to have all sorts of theories and questions, and obviously they detailed it in the story today, the fact that, I don't know. I mean, Jalen Hurts changes play calls, is unpredictable, okay? I don't know, are a lot of quarterbacks like that, or are they not? I don't know the answer to that question, to be honest with you. I also read in that article that one team source believed that Hurts was as open as he's ever been to change. So, there's good and bad. And I think whenever a team doesn't have the type of season that people are expecting, you can get all sorts of theories, and these are some of those theories to me.
What does your gut tell you about what the end game is regarding? Because I believe, Adam, that this is the Eagles trying to send a message through the media that they were not able to get through to Jalen Hurts, either intimate conversations or behind the scenes involving that team. I think that's what this article represents from the Eagles trying to get a message to Jalen Hurts. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't believe that. I don't believe they're trying to send a message to the media. I don't really think that teams do that kind of thing usually. I think it's more reporters digging in and asking, what went wrong. I just don't think they – why would you say that? How do you think they do that, Freddie? I'm just curious. So when you say that they're sending a message to the media – so when you ask that, how do you envision that playing out?
Because I don't envision it playing out well, because if you're trying to do something like that, that creates more friction potentially. Even though Jalen Hurts has been that kind of even-keel person, he doesn't allow those things to bother him on the surface. Underneath the surface, who knows? But I just think if that's the kind of attack that you believe it's a last resort, that never ends well, no matter what the situation, who the people are.
Yeah, and I don't believe that most teams do that. I don't believe they're sending a message to the media. This is just a couple of reporters digging in to see what they could find out. If the Eagles want to send a message to Jalen Hurts, to me, Nick Sirianni would call him in his office, sit down, talk to him. There will be continual conversations. Now, you may say that may have happened, and you said this is the last resort. I don't believe the last resort is going to the media to send a message. I just don't think that that's what happened here. I just think this is a case of reporters being around the team, asking questions, doing some digging, and this is their conclusions. And I would bet that if the team had any say over it, that they would not have the article out there at all.
Adam, a lot of this has been discussed about Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, the deterioration of their relationship, and sort of the feeling over a while that they're kind of a point of no return. How much does that factor in to what the Eagles are going to decide to do with A.J. Brown going forward?
It's good. Hasn't been happy. A.J. Brown has been open to being moved. Obviously, there seemed to be tension between he and Jalen Hurts last year. And I think that's all a part of why you see a story like this, that A.J. Brown's been one of the stories of the offseason. He still could be traded. Again, we've talked about this where the Eagles, it's hard to trade them before June 1st because of the cap reasons and purposes. So they want to wait till June 1, post-June 1, to be able to trade A.J. Brown if that's going to happen. And by the way, at that point in time, there may not be a market for him. And that may not be what A.J. Brown would want, but that may be what is best for the Eagles. Now, again, the team that's still out there, really, in my mind, the one team that looms out there is the New England Patriots. But we don't know what's going to happen between now and then. We don't know whether the Patriots are going to draft a wide receiver in the early rounds, whether Steph Diggs would return to New England, whether they would sign another receiver, whether the Eagles might draft a receiver early that would give them flexibility to trade A.J. Brown. There's a lot that's going to play out between now and June 1st, but I definitely think the New England Patriots loom as the primary option.
We're speaking with Adam Schefter, our ESPN senior NFL insider. Adam is kind enough to join us from Phoenix, from the league meetings. And Adam, one of the headlines that came out of Phoenix was with the Cleveland Browns and their owner, Jimmy Haslam, who said Deshaun Watson has a great chance, a fresh start, and said they're excited to see what Deshaun can do. In your opinion, how realistic is it that we will see Deshaun Watson be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns this season?
I think it's pretty realistic. I thought that is one of the more intriguing storylines of the NFL offseason. Like a man that we haven't heard from really since October 2024. A man who's had the type of career that Deshaun Watson's had with the on and off the field issues. Now, all of a sudden, this guy who tore his Achilles twice in almost the last 2 years, now he may be the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback. By the way, if it's not him, is it Shedeur Sanders? Is it Dylan Gabriel? Either one of them going to be good enough to unseat Deshaun Watson for the starting job? I mean, these are some really intriguing questions regarding the Browns quarterback situation. I don't think a lot of people would have been talking about a quarterback that last year, Jimmy Haslam said, in his words, was a swing and a miss. And now, the swing and the miss is stepping back up into the batter's box to take another crack at it. And looks like he might reach base.
Wow. I never thought I'd hear those words from Adam Schefter using a baseball reference involving Deshaun Watson and making it make sense, but only Adam Schefter does it like that involving the Cleveland Browns. Help us make sense of when we're going to see an 18-game schedule, Adam, in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, as soon as the NFLPA is on board with that, J.C. Treader just took over as the new executive director. Sure, there'll be a lot of conversations that occur between the NFL and J.C. Treader. And look, the NFL is going to be pushing for that. We know that. And the NFL usually gets what it wants, and we'll see how that works out. So, I don't know the answer as to when that will happen so much as I do believe it will happen. I think the CBA is to 2030. We'll stick with it around there. That's a guess, but wouldn't shock me if it came sooner.
Adam, the Attorney General of Florida has come out, spoken out against the Rooney Rule, and talked about how they want to get rid of in the NFL. Seems a little defiant about that. What has been their reaction to the discussion of the Rooney Rule?
Well, I think you heard what Roger Goodell said yesterday about it. He was asked about it at his press conference. All these issues usually come up at the end of the meetings, and Roger felt like he was supporting the Rooney Rule. He feels like, in his words, diversity is a benefit to the NFL, and the league is standing behind it at this point in time.
Adam, is there anything else coming out of Phoenix that we haven't brought up to you that you think we should know?
No, I think now we start to turn our attention to the draft. It's April 1. Happy April Fool's Day, everybody. Everybody be on the lookout for April Fool's jokes. And now, again, the NFL draft is 3 weeks from tomorrow. So we've entered the full onslaught of draft season and all the talk that comes along with that. This is Milk Diaper Jr. Field Yates Lewis Riddick season.
I said this was the last thing, Adam, but you brought up April Fools. Adam, you're a guy who's quick with a joke. You have a really good joke. If people don't know this, Adam Schefter is really funny. Are you a guy that pulls pranks on people?
Oh, I like to do that. Yeah, if I can do that, that's awful. That's awful lot of fun. I'm trying to think of the last prank that I pulled.
Yeah, I would love to know.
Usually the joke's on me. Yesterday I was walking through the hotel at the owners' meetings and taking a step. And the Detroit Lions, Rod Wood, the president, the outgoing president, was having a press conference to the right with a group of writers, and I tripped over the step and literally somersaulted about 20 feet. I called the hotel last night to get the video because I thought it would be a great joke and show how unathletic and lack of coordination I have. And I was communicating with the hotel manager, and unfortunately, Hilton's policy is not to release videos like that. They had the video. but they wouldn't release it. So the practical joke would have been on me, Michelle, if I got it. But to quote Hunter, the security manager at the Biltmore, I can confirm the fall. Unfortunately, after speaking with management, we are unable to share the footage due to Hilton's corporate policies. I apologize I couldn't make something work. I hope you enjoyed your stay with us. Well, I didn't stay with them. I stayed in another hotel. I really would like that footage, but that's the way it goes.
Well, if they're not going to release it.
It would have gotten a good laugh out of people, but I tried.
Yes,
but
you did.
To no avail.
Wow.
See, this is why we love Adam Schefter, because most people will call the hotel and say, burn the tape. Make sure that no one ever sees this. Adam's like, can you release it so I can play it on national television?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Burn the tape. The tape would have led NFL Live today. I'm just telling you right now. It was a dramatic fall.
Completely.
And somehow my ACL was spared. But eyewitnesses on the scene, I mean, there were a few people that tweeted about it, including Mike Sando from The Athletic. They were surprised at the violence and the ferocity of the fall.
Well, Adam, I'm glad you're okay. Thanks so much for the time, and enjoy the rest of your time in Phoenix.
Right. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.